Hello everybody, how are you all doing? Welcome back to Man City Unplugged, your very own Man City fan channel. There's a lot to discuss today, especially about the formation. The inverted fullback formation, it didn't quite seem to work both in the Newcastle match and the Palace match, and we'll discuss about whether Pep should continue with it or Pep should look for a new system and things like that. But first, we'll begin the show with what Rodri said on Erling Haaland. Was something very interesting that he said. He said that we have him as a reference who doesn't move much. He needs to adapt. His natural talent makes the difference, but he needs to do better at being involved in the game. He needs to understand when to come, when to drop, when to go into the space. It's normal for a new player. We have just been together for 1 month. So it's interesting that Rodri has come out and told this. Uh, Rodri saying this is important because if you guys remember when Rodri came in his first season, he was pretty. He was below average as well. We all thought that is he the one to replace Fernandinho? He made a lot of mistakes. He was responsible for a few goals. And look at where Rodri is now. He's the best DM in the world. I know Haaland has adapted much more quicker. But what Rodri's statement says, Haaland is scoring goals. He's been really pivotal to our comebacks against Newcastle, against Crystal Palace. He's created space in the Bournemouth game, in the West Ham game. He was almost single-handedly responsible along with De Bruyne to win the game. Rodri understands all of that, but what Rodri is saying is he needs to, you know, assimilate more into this Pep Guardiola system. He needs to understand the ethos of this Pep Guardiola system even more further without denting his poaching ability, without denting his ability to be in that right striker's position. That is what Rodri says. Because when Pep came early on, he noticed the same thing in Aguero, right? But Aguero by then was 28, something like that, suffering with injuries, 28, 29. So Pep could not, shape Aguero into the centre forward. He wanted to a centre forward who was a sharp shooter, and he wanted Aguero to do that pressing and stuff. But with Haaland, I think Pep has that. Pep has that chance to shape him technicality wise, and I think we were discussing it in our last video as well. How Haaland is here for his footballing education more than anything else. To learn how to link up play. See, what happens is generally forwards they learn to link up play, but then they forget to go and be there in those poaching positions, to go and be there in those positions where they will get to score goals. So I think it's important for Haaland. See, there's a little bit of fear in me that maybe by following Pep Guardiola's philosophy of dropping back and linking up play, will Haaland lose some of his, occupying some of his attacking positions, occupying that space and stuff actually. So that is my little fear. But then I do hope that Pep Guardiola and Haaland, they strike a balance in terms of when to press. I think it's really important for Pep Guardiola to not overemphasize on the striker involved in link up play, especially when Haaland is there. I think that is something which even Pep will have to adapt. It's not just being stubborn on one side. It's both the sides, Haaland and Pep, being need to adapt to each other without losing their best qualities. I think that is what will be very important in how this relationship between Haaland and Pep develops, and how successful Haaland is going to be in this Pep Guardiola system. See, Samuel Eto'o is a big example. Samuel Eto'o he scored a goal in the Champions League final as well, right, for Pep Guardiola, that won in the Champions League trophy. But he went that season. He was transferred that season because scoring goals, having attacking numbers, that doesn't guarantee that you have been successful in a Pep Guardiola system. Success in a Pep Guardiola system is more about how are you contributing to others in the team becoming better? How are you contributing to the betterment of the team? So Haaland, that is one thing which Haaland will needs to adapt. Football Fix is here. Hey, Football Fix, how are you? He says we need a winger in January. We can't rely on our midfielder to do the job. You saw how team was struggling. Football cases when we don't have a proper winger, but as soon as Alvarez game changed. A winger is required. These two comments bring us nicely onto our next topic, which we want to discuss. especially about the formations. So I'll just put the formation thing on the screen right now. Let me just remove the other one. Yes. Yes. So this is the formation I'm thinking which we can actually go with, three at the back, I think, because one thing. Let's talk about that inverted formation which Pep Guardiola is playing. Actually, the inverted formation, what it is doing is, see, Kyle Walker is coming in, and one thing what teams are doing is teams are leaving Kyle Walker with space, and teams are leaving more than Cancelo. See, teams are also leaving Cancelo with space, but then the inverted fullbacks, which means teams are congesting the midfield and leaving their wingers high. So even if you leave Cancelo with space, he will cut in because his natural foot is right foot, right, which means teams are easily able to contain him. And then with Kyle Walker as well. See, Kyle Walker is the important thing in the inverted fullback system. Against Crystal Palace, you guys might have seen that teams are leaving Kyle Walker with time and space on the ball. And Kyle Walker, he's good at passing, he's good at distribution, but by Man City standards, Kyle Walker is not that good at passing. Kyle Walker with time to cross, he's not at the level of a Bernardo Silva, of a De Bruyne, of a Gundogan. You name all the players around him, of a Cancelo. So that is the problem, and teams are leaving their wingers high up as well, which means Walker can't get back in time. So it's suddenly unbalancing your defensive structure a bit, and it is also denting your attacking structure. See, with the inverted fullbacks, you could argue that De Bruyne can play more forward, Gundogan can play more forward, but then I think that Kevin De Bruyne and Gundogan thrive more if they have much more space in the midfield. If they have that space available, which is being occupied by Kyle Walker, which is being occupied by Joao Cancelo. So I do think this formation that we have on the screen could be the answer to that. Actually, you see that Stones. Walker and Diaz for me, if you can see. So Walker has that recovery pace. Diaz in the middle physically is very good, and John Stones can come out with the ball if required. Diaz can come out with the ball as well. And what this formation does is, you can suddenly play a Bernardo Silva, you can suddenly play a Kevin De Bruyne, and this formation, something like a 3-4-3, you could say, it doesn't need wing backs as well. And you can play Foden and Alvarez there. I think this system ensures that the system that I have on the screen ensures that you can play all of your attacking talent there and without compromising on the defensive stability. And Bernardo Silva can run back and defend if needed. De Bruyne can run back, Foden can run back. Most of the time we have the ball. The thing is, most of the time we have the ball, and one place we are struggling is balls over the top. How do you counter that? So I think this is the system to counter that. Ball says, I think it's the right time to put Gomez at left back, a natural left back, and move Cancelo back to the right back and Walker at a centre back role. Exactly, football tricks. Those changes, I mean, those changes would relieve Cancelo, they would relieve Walker, and it could actually unlock the best qualities of Cancelo and Walker. And Walker is getting a bit old, with age. I mean, he has not shown it, but there's an ever so little drop of that pace and things like that. But what do you guys think about this formation? Because the key here is, the question here is, how does Pep Guardiola fit in a De Bruyne, a Gundogan, a Bernardo Silva, and a Phil Foden into the same team, and an Alvarez into the same team? That is the question here. Does he play a 4-4-2 diamond? Then it again leaves space in behind. So the question is, how do you fit in these three midfielders? Bernardo is in great form, Gundogan is in great form, De Bruyne you can't drop. Alvarez has been pressing from the front. Alvarez has been impressive. I think Alvarez might be the best presser in the league actually. His intensity has been wonderful. So I think Pep has a task at his hand in order to find the right solutions. I still think that Pep Guardiola is somewhere he's in the middle of finding the right right personnel for a few spots, especially the right wing. It seems that Pep Guardiola is not quite sure. Sometimes he plays Foden there when Grealish is there. Otherwise, he starts Mahrez. Sometimes he plays Bernardo Silva on the right wing. Again, it comes back to the same thing. Pep praised Bernardo Silva. He said that when the game is not, in the press conference, he said that after the match, when the game is not doing well, Bernardo Silva is one of those rare players who demands the ball, and he says, I will do it. We saw against Crystal Palace how Bernardo on his own almost went through the Palace defense almost twice or thrice. So you can't drop Bernardo now. The link up play between Gundogan and Mahrez has been Gundogan and Haaland has been top notch. De Bruyne, Haaland, still I think they're still understanding the wavelength, but Gundogan and Haaland, it almost seems like Gundogan is closing his eyes and passing to Haaland. Their wavelength is just out of this world. So you can't drop a Gundogan. I mean, the system is going to be very crucial, I think, to fit in all these players. So that's going to be a difficult task. Vinay says Alvarez might start versus Forest. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so. But the interesting thing against Forest actually is what formation will he play? Will he again play that inverted formation? Also, with that inverted formation, my other question is: aren't you wasting the attacking talent, right? See, because you're inverting both your midfielders, right, to prevent the counter-attacks. But instead of that, if you play a three at the back, you're only utilizing one of your fullback to defend, right? In the three at the back, the other can be released. It could be a Sergio Gomez, it could be a Cancelo, it could be a De Bruyne playing on the left. So, I mean, people are not agreeing with this. I don't know why, but the inverted fullback formation has they compare the game against West Ham. I don't know, and we won. West Ham have been in piss poor form, so can't compare the games against West Ham and Bournemouth and tell that the inverted fullback formation has worked. That is absolute nonsense. Football Kid says Dortmund connection. Football Kid says we need a right back and a proper winger. I think we should go for Adama Traore and Hakimi next summer. Football Kids talking about a right back. I think Rico Lewis is a replacement to Kyle Walker. Pep is slowly transitioning him. We have seen this Rodri Fernandinho, Foden Silva, Cole Palmer, Mahrez. I think Rico Lewis Walker is a similar example of what will happen. There was an interesting article, in Manchester Evening News. I think the under 18 coaches, the under 19 coaches, or the junior level coaches, they speak about Rico Lewis. They speak about how just an year and a half ago, Rico Lewis was not even playing for the under 18s. I think he was playing for the under 16s or something, under 17s or something like that. And suddenly, in the space of a year, he has made his transition to the first team. They attribute all of this to his the training of Rico Lewis with Cancelo, understanding the positions that Cancelo takes up. When Rico Lewis played against Barcelona in the friendly, he looked absolutely comfortable in the midfield. It seemed as if he was playing in that inverted midfield position all through his life. So Rico Lewis, I think, is the transition to Kyle Walker, and he has pace as well. He learned the defensive skill set from Kyle Walker. People compare Rico Lewis to Trent Alexander-Arnold, but one thing Rico Lewis will never fail to do is be good defensively. He learned that defensive instincts from Walker. He learned that attacking instincts from Cancelo. What a great combo for Rico Lewis to learn from. I'm sure that Rico Lewis will be the one next time transitioning for Kyle Walker. Football Tricks is I would prefer 3-4-3. But Football Tricks, the question here is, can you fit in? I mean, can you fit in these players? Can you fit in Bernardo Silva? I know I'm repeating this over and over again in the stream, but this is the problem. So the thing is, Football Tricks, can you fit in Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, Gundogan, Foden, and Alvarez? How do you fit in these five players in the 3-4-3 system? Because none of them deserves to sit out. Okay, even if you leave out Alvarez, how can you fit in a Bernardo, Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, all three in a 3-4-3 system? Because the thing is, with the 3-4-3 system, in a traditional 3-4-3 system, it's almost like you're occupying two of your spots in the four are being occupied by wing backs, right? Are occupied by your Cancelo and Sergio Gomez. So that leaves only two midfield spots De Bruyne and Rodri are the other two midfield spots. Haaland, Foden, and okay, Alvarez or Bernardo Silva. Gundogan is missing out here. Gundogan can't play on the wing, right? He has to play in that midfield position. So that is the drawback of the 3-4-3 formation. I've thought about it a lot. What are the different kinds of formation where you can fit all these 3-4 of our midfield players? And for me, this formation that you're seeing on the screen, it seems to be the best one by which you can play all of these creative midfielders. Kumar says, I think Pep will start Haaland. Kumar, I actually don't think Pep will start Haaland against Nottingham Forest. It's a little bit of a tricky thing actually, because I think it was just last week where Pep was mentioning about, that rotating Haaland is important, managing his time is important, and Alvarez will get chances. So I think Nottingham Forest will be the game where he will give Haaland a rest. I mean, Haaland will be on the bench, might come as a sub, I do not know. Because you look at the fixtures, right? In the next 3 weeks, we are almost going to play 6 games. We have Nottingham Forest, then then a game on Sunday against Aston Villa, I think. Then we go to Sevilla again for the Champions League, and then we have another game at the weekend. So the games are going to be absolutely hectic. You need to manage Haaland. See, one thing that can happen in this season is Haaland getting injured, and that is something which we can never let it happen. With the start Haaland has got, with the World Cup break he has, so it's really important to manage the minutes of Haaland. It's important to pick the absolute games where you want him. I don't think Nottingham Forest will be the game where, I mean, Haaland would love to play Nottingham Forest, because yesterday I was watching Nottingham Forest and it was almost like, they are playing on the front foot. They will come to a toe to toe. It's almost like it will be an end-to-end match. Nottingham Forest are not the team who will sit back. By the way, guys, did you hear the news? Renan Lodi has gone on loan for Nottingham Forest. Yesterday he was in the stadium watching the match, and today the signing of Renan Lodi has been confirmed. So again, that is interesting. Why didn't we go for Renan Lodi? That would have actually solved a lot of problems, right? On loan or buy Renan Lodi? I don't understand this. Vinay says midfield three is important and don't think we'll play any 3-4-3 or back three systems. I actually do think we'll play some back three systems. The reason being counter-attacks, The reason being last season, two important things happened. First thing is Spurs, how did Spurs defeat us? Especially in the February game when Conte was there, counter-attack, three at the back. They played three at the back, right? They countered with San, Kulusevski and Kane, and they defeated us. Real Madrid, I know the nature of the goals don't seem like that in the second leg, but lack of a back three contributed that thing, So Pep thinks that, one of the undoing we can face in the Champions League, in the Premier League from teams like, Spurs, for example, is and Chelsea to an extent is, getting caught on the counter. So how do you prevent getting caught on the counter? It's by playing two inverted midfielders or by playing three at the back. So there are two options. And now Pep is visualizing. I mean, Pep is experimenting. Inverted midfielders. Inverted midfielders are good against teams that play through the middle, play exclusively through the middle. But how many teams in world football are there who play exclusively through the middle? I can't think of many. I don't think there are any teams who play exclusively through the middle. Most of the teams, utilize the width as much as possible. Pep has taught that to the world. So I actually think that the back three system is far more important than the inverted midfield system. Vinay says we don't play turtle tactics like Conte at Tottenham. But Vinay, this formation is not a defensive formation. You look at this formation that I have on the screen. How many attacking players are in this? There are absolutely no defensive fullbacks as well. Both the fullback positions, wingback positions, essentially are occupied by Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne. So I mean, you can't compare this formation to Conte's formation. So I think this is an attacking version of the three at the back formation. And suddenly this formation could also mean you could have a John Stones come out with the ball into the midfield and he loves it. So suddenly you could have another extra body there with knowing that Kyle Walker will defend the ball at the top, Ruben Diaz can defend the ball at the top. So it would suddenly mean centre back joining attack as well. That would really, terrify teams with John Stones also joining attacks. Just like Rudiger could join last season when he was at Chelsea. So I think this formation gives us a lot of flexibility. Football fixes. I do like the 3-2-2-2 formation which Pep used against Palace in the second half. It was 3-2-2-2 football fix, but in a simpler way. It was almost like uh, there was a back five for Palace, right? So Pep literally matched that back five with five of the attackers, five of our attackers. So it was man to man. Alvarez, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Haaland, and Gundogan. So it was man to man marking, and Walker went back, three at the back, and Rodri in the midfield. So suddenly, what Pep did was Pep separated attack and defense, and he threw everyone at Palace. And 1v1, I don't care who the team is. None of the defenders will have the quality to defend 1v1 against these City players, right? Haaland himself needs two, three players to look after him. So I actually think that Palace second half formation revealed to Pep what he needs to do. I think to break low block teams. Football Kicks is Sunday we play Villa or Spurs. It's Villa Football Kicks. This Sunday we play Villa. I think it's the next Sunday we play Spurs. I'm not sure about that, but I do think it's the next Sunday we play Spurs. So it's Forest, Villa, Sevilla, and then Spurs. It's a very tight schedule. Football Critics Pep is trying Walker what he did with Philip Lam and David Alaba, fullback converted into centre back. Exactly, and Pep realizes he's in a dire need of that as well. How have we conceded all of these goals? Balls over the top. We are just not able to defend those balls over the top, right? I mean, Newcastle. Okay, Newcastle didn't have balls over the top, but balls over the top were causing worry to us, right? Switch from Maxim to Almiron or Almiron to Maxim, and then Maxim crossing into the box. So I think a three at the back would limit what the opposition attackers can do as well, because how many people will the opposition leave, right? They leave a striker high up. At the most, they leave a winger high up, right? In the worst case, they leave two wingers high up. That's it, right? But when you have five attackers, it's almost nigh on impossible for the opposition team. I don't care what the name of the opposition team is. They will struggle to get out. How will they cope with all of our five attackers going on them? I don't know. Football creatures, I think Willis can solve all the problems. He can hold the ball and slow the game, which we are lacking in last two games. But football creatures, in the last game, we did that, right? When Alvarez came on, Alvarez was instrumental to controlling the tempo of the game, right, against Crystal Palace. Pep praised him as well. Pep told that even I thought that he was the unsung hero. The way he pressed, the way he held on to the ball, the way he got Foden into the game, the way he drifted inside, then occupying the centre back, dragging the wing fullback with him. If everyone's talking about Haaland, but this guy Alvarez will also be a sensation. The beautiful thing about this is we have got the best young striker in Europe, upcoming young striker in Europe, and we have also got the best upcoming young striker in South America and Julian Alvarez. And the beautiful thing about it is both are having different profiles. Both are not of the same profile, so that would be difficult. Then they would be competing for the same positions, right? But the beauty, the interesting thing is the hands off to a scouting network. We have got Alvarez, who is almost like a Harry Kane type player, and I would not be surprised if in big Champions League games Pep also plays Alvarez alongside Haaland as a 2-4-2-2, or whatever. In that formation you can see on the screen, Pep plays Alvarez just behind Haaland. So that will be interesting how Pep utilizes Alvarez. Vinicius' formation on the screen isn't same when Cancelo was subbed in the second half. I know it isn't the same, Vinay, but I actually think that this could be the closest formation that Pep could revert to, actually, in terms of bringing in all of the players, uh, but also maintaining that attacking quality in the team. Now the questions will be, where will Cancelo play, where will Sergio Gomez play, and there'll be a lot of questions. But uh, that's where it will be interesting what Pep will do against Nottingham Forest. Football Trick says what Alvarez was doing is getting players on him so that Haaland was free. That's Haaland's second hat trick. That's why I said before, Haaland needs Alvarez to get the best out of him, or maybe a Grealish. Football Tricks, I think you're right there, because Haaland, it's not just Alvarez, but Haaland needs a player who can just drop off, and who he can play, who's close to him, like a Gundogan did it against Bournemouth, for example. Gundogan was just following him as shadow. So I think Haaland almost needs a player in that, when we play the 4-4-1-1 situation, there's a player who is just shadowing the striker, like a Thomas Muller would do with Lewandowski, right? Just shadowing him. I think Haaland needs that link-up strikers. Stefan Jovetic and Aguero, Zeko, Aguero, Tevez. So I think in a two makes Haaland even more better. It makes him even more dangerous. So now the defenders don't know whether to stay with Haaland or whether to, you know, follow that player who's just linking up with Haaland in that half space position as second striker. Gundogan got his goals in the same way in the second match. So, and in this match as well, Gundogan was also doing that role. So that is something which is very interesting. I actually think Alvarez Haaland partnership will be very very good. But again, it depends on how Pep finds a way to do this. If you guys remember 2017, I think when we defeated Liverpool 5-0, Sadio Mane had his foot on Ederson and got sent off for a red card, right? In that match, Pep actually tried Jesus and Aguero, and the link up was brilliant. But after that, Mendy got injured, and Pep never went back to that formation. But this could actually be the time when Pep returns to that formation, because right now we have got two of the lethal strikers in there, and I think we've got all of the personnel there to have that formation. Football Trick says Grealish lacks pace, which Alvarez doesn't. That's the difference. Yes, really, exactly. And I also think that Alvarez is maybe a little bit more advanced in terms of that decision making. I think Grealish, who against Crystal Palace, for example, if Grealish came on instead of Alvarez, just an example, I do not think that we would have had such a big impact on the game actually, because Grealish, he takes a bit more time holding on to the ball, and suddenly the defense can rearrange itself. But with Alvarez, that's just having that sense of thing, like strikers have that sense of goal. Alvarez has that sense of space. He he knows exactly for how much time you need to hold the ball. Sometimes he just delays the pass, sometimes he plays a quick one too, sometimes he just keeps the ball to himself but never loses the ball in tight spaces. And you guys would have seen the difference as well, right, between Alvarez and Grealish. How many times did Alvarez get fouled in that Crystal Palace match? I don't remember seeing him getting fouled even once. Maybe he got fouled once, but Jack Grealish is that split second late. He gets fouled a little bit more too often. So I do think Alvarez is a little bit more advanced in the pecking order in that terms. And you're right, Alvarez has pace. He can threaten on the counter as well as he can slow the game down. This could be an unpopular opinion, but I think Alvarez is ahead in that pecking order. He's ahead of Jack Grealish actually. Football tricks is 4-2-2-2 can solve a lot of problems for us. I think so 4-2-2-2 can actually solve a lot of problems for us. But 4-2-2-2, okay, the four system, the two you mean Rodri and Gundogan, and the other two you mean De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and then the other two you mean Haaland and Alvarez, or Haaland and Foden, right? But then, don't you think that this 4-2-2-2 formation becomes too vertical? Doesn't it mean that the opposition will have a ridiculous amount of space out wide to exploit? So I think it's a similar kind of a thing we did against Newcastle, because just imagine you're playing a 4-2-2-2 and the opposition has excellent wingers. They leave the wingers high and wide. So 1v1 defending, even if you have the world's best defender, I don't care, but 1v1, it's difficult. It's always 50-50. So would you always want to have your fullbacks 1v1 against the opposition wingers? And then again, the problem with this 4-2-2 formation will be a lack of a width. It will be congested in the midfield, I think. So there are a few problems with the 4-2-2-2 actually, I think. Especially the lack of the width makes it so predictable, because if there is no width, for example, you can just defend narrow and that's it. The attacks will come to you. You can't expect De Bruyne to put in crosses and Haaland to head it every time. That will become so predictable, right? You need to utilize. See, Pep's philosophy is to utilize each and every blade of grass on the pitch. So I actually think that 4-2-2-2 you would restrain us from exploiting the width. Vinay says convert Grealish to CM. He has those abilities of a creator. As a winger, he's a flop. You almost forgot that Grealish is at City. And when a Grealish loves to play in open space, right? He almost loves to drive through the midfield. You're absolutely right, Vinay. That I think central midfield could be the answer to unlocking Jack Grealish. Because the left wing, you're right, he's just becoming too predictable, and it's almost like he's stopping the play, he's bringing defenders on, they're fouling him. It's not working. When Jack Grealish plays on that left wing, I feel it's almost easy to, it's almost so predictable to defend narrow. It's so easy. I think central midfield would mean Grealish can go both ways. He's a good dribbler, little bit of defensive awareness. If he learns, I do think central midfield would be. I actually think maybe could Grealish be the answer to, the successor to Gundogan. I know Cole Palmer is the name, but maybe Grealish could also be the successor to Gundogan here. That's a very good shout out, Vinay. Football Kids is actually Haaland did the same thing, but got lucky against Anderson. Football creates that Haaland goal, right? I think against Newcastle as well, he went on the same way, right? He went through on goal the same way. It's just the touch that let him down against Newcastle. Otherwise, we could have won that Newcastle game as well, literally. They were almost talking. I was actually seeing ESPN FC. I think they were talking that Haaland is almost a cheat code. It's almost unfair to use him. That's what they were telling. Crystal Palace were stunned. Joel Ward is very big. He's so physical. Anderson is so physical. Ward literally, if you see the replay, Joel Ward literally tried to kick Haaland. He tried to, push Haaland. The guy doesn't move. This is the defenders are going to be terrified. And all these people were comparing Darwin Nunes to Erling Haaland after the Community Shield. What a disgrace. Look at where Haaland is and where Darwin Nunes is. I think Haaland should be able to beat Mo Salah's record of 32 goals or something in a Premier League season, right? I think Haaland should be able to beat that. I expect Kevin De Bruyne to beat the all-time Premier League assists record, and Haaland to beat that Mo Salah record of 32 goals. Vinay says, I think in defense, Ake is a must. Other centre backs must be ball playing. Uh, that's a good shout out, Vinay. I think I think the best combination. See, if we play three at the back in defense, I think Kyle Walker is a must at the right centre back position. I think Kyle Walker in the right centre back position, Laporte in the left centre back position, and Ake in the middle would actually be perfect. Okay, you can rotate Ake, Diaz, or Stones, Laporte. I don't care, but Laporte, Ake, and Walker would actually make a great centre back three. I mean, Laporte, left footed, can ping the crosses, can play diagonal balls. Kyle Walker, has that recovery pace. Nathan Ake is very good in one-on-one defending. So I think these three people, if in the centre back positions, can actually bring a lot to our defense. Vinay says Haaland legs are so long. Instead of the ball, he got Anderson's head. Better not to mess with the giant. Defenders are now scared to come close to him. I mean, it's literally two defenders defending against Haaland. But what Haaland is doing is, the great thing is realizing actually, can I go through or can I play someone in? I think what what most managers, what most people didn't expect is they didn't expect they thought Haaland is one dimensional. They didn't expect Haaland to have that sense of, recognition of space, have that know-how of how to hold the ball and when to play the ball to someone and when to run through with it. See, when you have such raw strength, when you have such pace, when you have been so successful in one-on-one finishing, it's very easy to get carried away, right? That whenever I get the ball, it's me. I'll individually go and do it. I'll run at the defenders. I don't care if I lose the ball. The great thing about Haaland is we have not seen that reckless attitude from him. He's always like, when I get the ball, do I have someone to pass to or should I run? Those are the two thoughts for Haaland. Bournemouth is an example. He played in Gundogan. Palace is an example where he went through with the run. So I think the decision making of Haaland is what has really surprised many people. People didn't think that he will have such maturity in knowing when to link up play and when to actually stay forward. And Rodri is stressing he needs to do more actually, and that just terrifies me of how much of a beast this guy can actually become. Football Critics says 4-2-2-2 is a flexible formation. It can be converted into 4-3-3 and 3-4-3 or 4-3-2-1 or any other. That is right, Football Critics. The thing is, Pep Guardiola doesn't have a fixed formation, right? It's almost fluid. It's almost called as position football right now. That's said to be a tactical innovation is bought in 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. He's perfected it when he was at Bayern Munich. So it's all fluid and it's all positional. But there are some fundamentals. There's always a base, even though it's a fluid formation. There are some fixed positions, even in a fluid formation. There's a reference point. And I think the reference point in a back three formation is the positioning of the center backs. And I think the positioning of the center backs actually gives away a lot of what Pep Guardiola wants to do with the formation. For example, in an inverted fullback formation, I think the positioning of the fullbacks was the fixed point, was the focal point they were coming in. So I mean, in a 4-2-2-1, in a 4-2-2-2, the one thing I'm worried about is the width actually. How are we going to defend the space in behind, especially out wide? Because against a team like Spurs, against a team like Liverpool, see, whenever I think of which system should we play in, I always remember these two teams, Spurs and Liverpool. Okay, we have got the better of Liverpool in the last few seasons, but Spurs, they play 3-5-2. I think the only way to counter Spurs is match the formation, like Tuchel did, match the formation. So I think sometimes switching to a back three, Pep is also, he's rehearsing for that Spurs game because he knows defending against the counter attacks of Son, Kulusevski, Kane dropping in. I think you need to match the formation. Otherwise, I mean, you can't expect to play inverted fullbacks against Spurs, can you? They'll just wash you with the runs of Son and everything. So a back three, I think, is really important for us to counter teams. I think that is one of our few remaining weaknesses, leaving wingers high and wide, and how do you counter it? Vinay says Haaland learned from his poor finishing versus Pope 1v1, where he shot straight, but this time the finish was outside of the foot, right on his left foot. I think against Pope as well, the touch just let him down. I think the touch let him down a little bit, but then again, you're right. He also shot straight at Pope. Maybe he thought to lift it over Pope a little bit more, but here he was like, I have to be absolutely sure, and he finished it outside of his left foot straight into the corner. Fantastic finish, right? Football glitches, we almost forgot we have Phillips and Rodri too. Exactly, football glitches. And I think in a back three you could almost play Calvin Phillips as well as your middle centre back. So there are a lot of options if you switch to the back three formation. And Calvin Phillips will be used because Rodri cannot play every game. We have to remember that Rodri has to go to the World Cup as well, right? So Rodri absolutely cannot play every game. I mean, I know that Phillips also has to go to the World Cup. So I think it's all about managing managing the team as well, because see, we have 6 games in the next 3 weeks, so game every 3 days on an average. So management will be very important. Vinay says, do you think Haaland has more acceleration than Mbappe or Vinicius Junior? Definitely, Vinay. Definitely, Haaland has more acceleration. Haaland has greater control over the ball. from a standing still position, Haaland definitely has great control over the ball and more acceleration than Mbappe or Vinicius Junior. And definitely Haaland's finishing is better than both of them. Haaland's body strength, upper body strength, Haaland's finishing, Haaland's positioning, everything is better than Mbappe and Vinicius Junior. I think it's almost at this point, I would say it's almost a disgrace to compare Haaland with Mbappe and Vinicius Junior. I think, at the start, I mean 5 years back, I think that's when Haaland and Mbappe came to the scene, right? Everyone was telling Haaland and Mbappe would be the next two poster boys of football in that, but I do think that Haaland is way above Mbappe in most of the aspects. He knows how to go into space. He's a team player. He knows the facets of that link up play. He knows when to play in someone. He does his defensive work well. His positioning is supreme. His movement is fantastic. Whereas if you look at Mbappe, if you don't give space to Mbappe, is Mbappe so efficient? Is Mbappe so good? I don't think so. But Haaland, even without space, he does that little movement. Sometimes stay still. Saw against Crystal Palace, the first two goals he scored were no space at all. Haaland versus no space. He just bought a yard of space, that movement, and he was there. One at the far post and the other with the header. So I do think Haaland is way above Mbappe. Football Kicks says if Haaland learns to time headers goals, he would be unstoppable. Football Kicks, Haaland has actually told in an interview, I think, before the season started that I think it was in the first interview he did with City. Haaland told that he's working on his headers and he wants to become very good at that. The Palace header was not bad, I think, right? He had a jump on the defender. It wasn't such an easy header. The cross was looped into the air. But you're right. Once Haaland develops that habit of scoring headers, he will be unstoppable. And also, I think Haaland will have to work on his weak foot as well. Haaland will have to, I think, and Haaland has told that he's working on his headers and his weak foot as well. Just imagine if Haaland can make his right foot also a bit more stronger than and improve his heading, then he would be somewhere else. They're already calling him an alien. They're already calling that he should not be allowed to even play in the Premier League with this crazy physique and with this crazy pace. I think it was Scott Parker, someone who was telling. I think it was a Bournemouth manager, I think, who was actually telling that he has never seen anything like Haaland in the Premier League before. It's something ridiculous. People are just beginning to realize now, and people before the start of the season said that Haaland wouldn't adapt to this league. Some people were even saying that it's an absolute embarrassment to say that Haaland will win a golden boot and all of that. You know who I'm referring to. So people all over the social media were on Haaland, but Haaland is. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 3 weeks Haaland already goes into double figures in the Premier League. He scores more than 10 goals. That would just be an eye opener. It would not be even the end of September and already Haaland is on 10 goals. That would just be amazing, right? Vinay says Rodri and Phillips in place of Gundo versus Spurs. But Vinay, also we must ensure that we don't go too defensive against Spurs, right? And Gundo has developed that. Again, this is the thing. How do you drop Gundo? This is the problem for Pep. You can't drop Gundo, Bernardo, or Kevin De Bruyne. So you have to play in all the three. And I don't think Pep will go with two DMs. And maybe one thing is Pep could maybe put Bernardo Silva back in the central midfield position. But I don't think there'll be any difference because where do Spurs attack us? Where will Spurs actually inflict damage on us? It's out wide in the wings, right? So it's important what kind of formation Pep goes with in the wings. But I can ensure you that Gundogan, De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, all three are starting against Spurs. The link up between Gundogan and Haaland, the link up between Bernardo and De Bruyne. So the little bits of understanding developing between players here, and Bernardo when he's at his attacking best. Just remember last season, right, when Mo Salah was in that great stretch of form from September to December. People forget it, but Bernardo also was almost going nuts. He was in fantastic form. So and Bernardo looks really hungry for goals as well now. So it's gonna be emphatic. When Bernardo is on song, he can cut in and he can score like Mo Salah. He's such a efficient poacher. So people are underestimating Bernardo as well. Here his attacking instincts is supreme, and for a moment, against Crystal Palace, I actually thought that I'm seeing Messi here with the way Bernardo Silva was dribbling. So that was amazing the way Bernardo Silva is playing right now. We literally have Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, and Bernardo, all three of them playing at the top of their game. Of course, Haaland is there. So this is exciting. The only thing is the system. What system does Pep play them in? Now says Tuchel almost got rid of another turtle, Conte, but let down by Havertz. Now, what we could do with Haaland? Exactly, I mean, Haaland. Again, the thing is, I know that Pep is getting the best out of Haaland right now, but I still actually think that Pep knows that he can get more out of Haaland, which is actually scary. And when I actually write about Havertz, because there is something I read about Havertz, the players of Bundesliga, if you see all the players in the recent times who come from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, Havertz, Werner, both of them flopped, and Mkhitaryan, I think, count from 2017. Mkhitaryan, right? Why have all of the three of them flopped? Havertz and Werner in a Chelsea team, Tuchel didn't know how to utilize them. Mkhitaryan, of course, Jose Mourinho can leave that. So Werner was so, people were telling that Werner was so, he was so ruthless in the Bundesliga and flopped in the Premier League. Could the same happen to Haaland? That was also a question by many people, and that was never going to be the case because of the difference in managers. And I'm surprised that Tuchel is not able to get the best out of Havertz, because Tuchel managed in the Bundesliga as well. That is surprising for me. Vinay says Tuchel shut down Kane, Son. But Vinay, how did Tuchel shut down Kane and Son? You're right. He shut down Kane and Son by matching the formation, three at the back, right? Last season also, an interesting thing happened, Chelsea were winning many games, right? Chelsea were almost like Arsenal, at the start of last season, they were winning a lot of games. People were telling they are the true contenders of the Premier League title and stuff. David Moyes comes to Chelsea and I think Stamford Bridge, and David Moyes matches Tuchel's formation of three at the back, and West Ham win that game. If you guys remember, I think Mendy makes, Jorginho makes a blunder there and stuff like that. So I think with these three at the back systems, I do actually think that we need to match them. I mean, you could argue that Pep Guardiola won home and away against Tuchel without matching the formation there. It is possible, but I think the best way is to match the formation. That's what when Conte was at Chelsea 2016, the year he won the league. Pochettino goes there and matches the formation. Pochettino always played a 4-4-3, matches the formation of Conte, and he wins against Chelsea in 2016. So if you look at history on how to defeat these three at the back managers, it's always been matching the formation. Go man to man with them. Do we have the people who can go man to man? Yes, we do have. We do have. Is the Spurs defense, and it's a bit difficult then for Spurs to go man to man to us, because if we match the formation, suddenly you have a Haaland up front, and single centre back can't handle Haaland. There'll be two, so there'll be space for your Gundogan or De Bruyne. If Alvarez plays, there'll be space for Alvarez to run into. So the introduction of Haaland and playing three at the back could really cause many problems to opposition teams. Vinay says Juan Gomez versus Spurs. Uh, Kin destroyed Cancelo. Kulusevski destroyed Cancelo. He did in the last game, right? He destroyed Cancelo. We want Sergio Gomez, but see, one player that is going under the radar is Cancelo. His form has not at all been good. So now the question for Pep is, how do you get the best out of Cancelo? The honest answer is I'm struggling for words here, because I do not know how do you get the best out of Cancelo right now, because the formation is such that maybe there's no space for Cancelo there in the team. I mean, for example, you look on the screen or you look at the personnel we bought on in the second half against Palace, right? Whom will you remove there to put Cancelo? Can't remove Gundogan, Ford, and Alvarez. I mean, where will Cancelo play? A lot of questions to look forward to. I know, we have been winning. We've just dropped points against Newcastle, but I think we have two more gears to go, which should be scary for the Premier League. And Arsenal are already playing in the top gear, and we still are just in the middle gear. We have two, three more gears to go. So I think some of the positions Pep is still working out. The position of Cancelo, the position of Bernardo Silva, the position of Alvarez. In what games will Mahrez start? So it's a very interesting debate. And another thing is, I think it's a strange thing with Mahrez because he played the full 90 minutes against Barcelona and he still started against Crystal Palace, and Mahrez looked really ineffective in the Community Shield. He looked ineffective. So I actually think that Mahrez maybe Pep is, Pep will play Mahrez mostly in the Champions League this season because Pep knows that he has that experience, he has that, sense of goal in the Champions League. The last 2-3 Champions Leagues, Mahrez has done extremely well for us. So I think the Mahrez thing is interesting, but again, Pep has a lot of questions in his hand. How do you integrate Cole Palmer into the team right now? Grealish is injured. What if Grealish comes back? Where do you play him? The Forest match should give us quite a lot of answers to this. I think Forest match will be interesting. It will give us a sense of what Pep thinks in terms of the rotation. Actually, that is interesting. Vinay says Cancelo doesn't put balls directly into the box. For whom is doing trickery, doing late up in the attack and defense, recovers the chip. Exactly. Vinay, Cancelo has become too predictable, right? This is not a problem that started this season. I accept that Cancelo is among the top 2 3 left backs in the in the entire world. You know what people might say, but no, even in the last season, if you look at Aston Villa, if you look at West Ham in the last season, the last 2 3 couple of matches last season and this season, teams defending narrow. Now they don't even concentrate on Cancelo because they knows that whatever Cancelo does, he has to cut in. Even if he does trickery, and also I've observed that Cancelo shoots a lot in promising positions. I think Pep will have a word about him. But again, I think Cancelo has now been worked out by Premier League defenses. That he only has the option of cutting in. I know he can go both sides, but then the left foot is not the strongest. His crosses from the left foot are not that good. So I actually think that teams have worked him out, and I think it's time that you play Sergio Gomez in that left back position or left mid position and play Cancelo on the right. That's how you get the best out of him. See, again, it's the problem. How do you fit in all these midfielders along with Cancelo and along with Sergio Gomez? Because again, for me, it would be a waste of talent if we don't play Cancelo there. This was one of the reasons, right? Why we also wanted to get Cucurella, because Cucurella would suddenly unlock that left hand side, and it would create more space, for our midfielders to run into, and it could also unlock Cancelo. If Cucurella came, Cancelo would maybe play more minutes on the right, and Walker would be managed a little bit better. So okay, that's in the past. We didn't get Cancelo, but I'm stunned. We didn't even go for Renan Lodi. He's going to bloody Forest. I mean, how come he's gone to Forest and he's not come to us? Maybe we were never in for Renan Lodi. I do not know whether it's an attitude thing of Renan Lodi or whatever it is. Why Pep didn't like him and why Pep didn't recommend him to a transfer team, I don't know. But Cancelo is an issue. How do you fit these players in the system is an issue. How do you play Alvarez is an issue. So there are issues in the team. It's not clean and green for us, and we are set to go. Long nights for Pep in order to work out these issues. I'm confident that Pep will not be sleeping at night nowadays. He's just thinking about these issues. Vinay says, do you see slowly Mahrez, Cancelo won't be starters? Maybe Vinay, maybe. But there are some games where Cancelo and Mahrez will play. But yeah, you're actually right. Because in the past few seasons, especially last season and the season before that, Cancelo at least was a definite starter. Cancelo, you couldn't imagine a team without Cancelo, right? But right now with the right now with Pep shifting systems and all, maybe Cancelo will not be a starter, but Cancelo can be a starter if we can work on his, in terms of retention of the ball. Because you're right, when Cancelo is losing the ball, um, we are suddenly out of shape and we just don't have the time to recover back. Against Newcastle, those were issues actually. And Mahrez defensively, I think first goal against Crystal Palace, Mahrez was responsible. Okay, Ederson made a blunder for the first goal of Palace, but Cancelo was also responsible, doing a foul and all. And attacking wise, he's just not there. I don't know what is going wrong with Cancelo. says about Palmer, he's not ready for senior football. Selfishness. Vinay, I would actually not call it selfishness, but I would maybe call it he's a little bit more cautious in terms of not wanting to lose the ball. What I think Palmer is going through is if I make that pass and suppose it is intercepted, maybe my chance in the first team will go. Maybe that's it. I'll be getting reduced minutes. So Palmer is maybe in that phase of mind where he's afraid to make mistakes, and I think this is where coaches are very important. This is where I think Pep Guardiola is one of the best in terms of shaping the mindset of the young player. It's not about what the skills and talent that he has on the field, but it's about how he feels inside, how he feels in his mind. It's that razor sharp mindset that is the difference between a Phil Foden who has made it and a Jadon Sancho, for example, who couldn't stay longer and make it, or a Sam Edozie who couldn't stay longer. So I think it's the mindset, and I do think Cole Palmer is there. He's just a little bit away because in the Barcelona game, I saw it's a friendly, I know, but he played very well actually. The link up between Palmer and Haaland or Palmer and Foden, it's actually gonna be excellent. And a good thing about Palmer is his sense of goal is very good. You don't find those midfield players having that sense of goal often, and the way he runs with the ball, the way he presses, his energy. I think Palmer has three, four, five dispositions. I think against Barcelona, he disposes the ball from a Crystal Palace player. I think two, three times as well. So Palmer has some unique skills, very good at pressing. Again, has the recognition of space, has a fantastic curling left footed shot. Last season we saw. This season it's just the lack of confidence from Cole Palmer. I actually think that is not doing well. Vinay says compare him with Curtis and Elliott. Feels like they're already ready. I actually think Vinay Palmer is shade above Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott. If City had the same kind of injuries, God forbid they don't have it at all. But for example, if they had those kind of injuries, I think Cole Palmer would already be showing why he's actually the best. Sometimes when you play around these big players, around the stars, you sometimes can be just awestruck by their aura, and you can actually feel, that you can have that feeling of being tight and being afraid of playing that, holding on to the ball a little bit extra, playing that extra pass and things like that. That can happen to the very best. So I think Palmer is going through that phase. I think it's a phase that is common in the development of young players. So I actually think that Palmer is ready, and Palmer is a step above any of the midfielders Liverpool have right now. Vinay says one downgrade is he doesn't have pace like Gavi or Pedri escaping the press. But Vinay, if you see, he has the intelligence in the mind. If you see how many times is Cole Palmer being caught giving away the ball, I don't see him in that aspect. I do think Palmer is even a step above Grealish in terms of escaping the press and protecting the ball. He protects the ball better than Grealish, and he doesn't get fouled often. And Palmer also has long legs, if you see, so he can, and he has pace. Okay, he doesn't have blistering pace, but he has pace. The comparison is of David Silva, for example. David Silva didn't have pace like a Gavi or a Petri. You don't. I think the one place where you need pace is you need pace in your mind to understand the situations fast. I think that is what is needed. I think sometimes PS can be a bit more overrated in football. It's common, but if you see the very best players, some of them didn't have pace at all. John Terry in the defense didn't have pace. David Silva in the midfield didn't have pace. There were some great midfielders as well who didn't have pace at all. Andre Pirlo didn't have pace at all. So I think the vision of Cole Palmer is what has really captured Pep Guardiola. His vision is supreme. It will come out once he feels confident in that space and stuff. So I do think time we'll have to, patience, patiently doing your work, churning it out day in and day out is what I think separates a Phil Foden from other players who didn't make it. And it's about Palmer's belief in the process. If he believes in the process much more than what a few others did, if he has confidence on Pep, Palmer could be one of our legends along with Phil Foden. Actually, just imagine Foden and Palmer being regulars along with Rico Lewis in the City team. Could suddenly be that we are developing system where a lot of youngsters are breaking through, and that would just be so good, right? That would be fantastic. It would just be that all of the players, most of the players playing in the team are from our very own academy. I'm waiting for that feeling. I really hope that feeling happens in the next 4 or 5 years, where most of the people are from our academy. Vinay says, think he needs a loan move to championship. It depends. Vinay, loan moves are not always the best, and Pep has not always preferred loan moves, because it depends on the kind of style the manager plays in the championship, and things like that. You don't want to send a player where a manager plays a physical style or a style that is different from City, right? Then you'll almost be 2 3 years back, 2 3 years behind, right? Because you have been training in a certain way at City, and suddenly you go to championship for 1 year, and you're confused, because these are the formative years, right? 19, 20, 21, 22. These are all the formative years for midfielders. I mean, for any football player, but mostly for midfielders. It evolves their vision. It evolves the way, it changes their thinking and perspective of the way how they see the game. Had Kevin De Bruyne remained at Chelsea, would he have developed a similar kind of a vision? I don't think so. So it is so important, the choices you make at this stage. Haaland is a pure example, right? Haaland could have gone to Manchester United before he signed for Dortmund, right? At a much higher wages. Haaland could have gone to Juventus, but they choose Molde at 18 years of age. So you just examine the choices that Haaland has been making. Football is the has been his prime source of making decisions, and the decisions which Haaland has made, Molda instead of Juventus, Dortmund instead of United. Everything is responsible for the space he's in right now, for the way he has developed. So it actually depends on where you're going, and I think if Pep Guardiola wants Cole Palmer to stay, Pep Guardiola thinks that Cole Palmer can learn so much from playing with Kevin De Bruyne. See, if I think you can learn more playing in the practice games, 11-a-side practice games, playing against Kevin De Bruyne, playing with Gundogan, playing with Bernardo Silva, than going to a championship. I think Foden has been successful in this model. Foden could have easily been loaned to any of the best clubs in the world for an year to learn the trade, but he decided to stay and learn the trade with David Silva and stuff like that. So, and Kevin De Bruyne, and also you cannot say that one thing is better than the other, but it again depends. I mean, the arguments are there. For example, Harry Kane went on loan, and that was the reason why he has become one of the best strikers in world football. So there are examples on either side of the spectrum. I would not say going to loan is bad or not going to loan is bad, but it ultimately depends on how do you want to develop, how do you want to shape your footballing brain. I think that is the most important thing that young players should take care when making decisions. I think this is where Jadon Sancho has done a wrong thing by choosing Manchester United. Not good for his development, not at all good for his development. He could have stayed at Dortmund for a few more, 1 or 2 more years, and then gone to Madrid or somewhere else. The world was calling out from him. He chose United. I would not say for the money or something like that, because he's an English lad. He always wants to come back to the English clubs. But I think it was a wrong decision. See, Jadon Sancho's career, for example, it's almost gone 2 years behind right now. At least a year behind. Last season, he didn't do anything. Okay, he was the star player, but then if you're a young player and you're a star player in a particular team, then it means that you need to move to a much better team, because you don't learn anything there if you're the best person in that room. That's why Haaland is choosing City. If he would have gone to any other club, he would be the star over there. But at City, De Bruyne is a bigger star than him. Gundogan is bigger than him. Bernardo Silva is bigger than him. So I think decision making is so important for youngsters. Vinay says Ajax have made profit of 160 to 180 million pounds from United. I think which club hasn't made a profit from United? Vinay, you see? Even we have made a little bit of a profit, right? Jadon Sancho add-ons and stuff. But you see, Leicester ripped them off of 80, 85 million pounds. Juventus ripped them off of 100 million euros or something like that. I mean, Anthony 100 million euros is 100 million pounds is an absolute rip off, right? Just let me know in the comments below. What do you guys think of it? 100 million. I'm actually surprised. For 100 million they went for Anthony. They could have easily gone for Rafael Leao, right? Who's better than Anthony. I mean, people say Ten Hag, very good manager and all, but this one thing, it bugs me about Ten Hag actually, that he's not flexible. You see Pep, for example, right? Pep didn't get a center. I mean, when we went for Aymeric Laporte, for example, Pep didn't get a center back. What did he do? He adapted and changed the system. He managed without a center back until he got one. Pep didn't have a left back for 3-4 years. He managed and we won 4 out of the last 5 Premier League titles without a proper left back. No striker last season. We went for Harry Kane. No striker. City could have easily paid 150, 160 for Harry Kane and got him. But you see, I think this is one of the difference between an Eric Ten Hag and a Pep Guardiola. I think Pep finds solutions, whereas what I'm seeing is Eric Ten Hag is maybe a bit more stubborn. Is not flexible. So for me, this is one negative actually, because many people were saying in the chat, I think last time as well, that Eric Ten Hag could have been a good manager for City. But I think we were discussing this, that is Eric Ten Hag a good solution finder? I think he's not. If you look at the signings which are coming into United, Casemiro is coming in 65 million. I mean, just look at this. Real Madrid have paid 60 million pounds for Chouamini, right? They have earned all of that money by selling Casemiro, a 31-year-old Casemiro, and they have replaced him with Chouamini. So everyone is repping United of left, right, and center. Everyone is funding their transfer window with United. And Barcelona were almost ready to rip United off with a Frankie de Jong, and they wanted to put all of their wages on Frankie de Jong as well. Vinay says Frankie de Jong's decision not to leave Barca for United. Now I understand exactly. I mean, Frankie de Jong at 25. I think again De Jong would have looked at it. Will I learn more here or will I learn more at United? At United, he could be caught in politics and dressing room atmosphere is not nice. So it's not good for the development of a player actually. What goes on behind in the dressing room, what goes on behind closed doors, I think is plays really pivotal part in the dressing room. How is the harmony of the team? Do all the players get well along with each other? Is it like a family over there? Are each one of them there for each other? I'll tell you just a small incident. Joao Cancelo's house was burgled, right? The Cancelo called Fernandinho, and Fernandinho was there on his house in 2 minutes. So you can understand the camaraderie that is there in our city dressing room. So De Jong would have looked at all that and he would have said, "No, United. I will stagnate at Barcelona playing centre back." De Jong would have thought, "I will play at centre back at Barcelona than playing in my preferred position in United. That is better. I'll forego wages and play and stagnate at Barca." So you can imagine the state of Manchester United right now. Vinay says, "Do you think Casemiro will be saved from cards in the PL? In La Liga, we know why he got away from cards." Vinay, in terms of physicality, they do allow more physicality in the Premier League, but I don't think Casemiro can escape the cards in the Premier League. But Premier League referees also, we have seen, if there is a foul, I mean, if a person goes on to foul 2-3 times, they give a card. So I don't think he'll escape. But is Casemiro suited to the Premier League? That is my question actually. At 31, can he adapt? Is he a ball playing central midfielder? How does Eric Ten Hag want to utilize him? There are a lot of questions around Casemiro actually. I mean, I personally thought if United would have given Ole Gunnar Solskjaer Casemiro. I mean, 2 years ago, if they would have given Casemiro 28, 29, I think Ole would have genuinely challenged for the league. Actually, if you look in that period, United were playing blistered in counter-attacking football. This was before Ronaldo came. They had Rashford, Greenwood, everyone. They lacked a genuine midfielder there. So I think United. The thing with United is that they're making signings at the wrong times. They're getting in players at the wrong time into the club. Players are coming to the club for pretty much the wrong reasons. So and I mean, more than cards for me, Will he adapt to the Premier League? Will he adapt to the fast-paced nature of the Premier League here? Because referees don't blow for counter-attacks as they do in La Liga. La Liga matches can be sometimes very boring to watch. Referees just blow for even a little foul that they don't do in Premier League. So it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to the Premier League actually. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me on the show. It's been a wonderful discussion with you guys. We have discussed some excellent points. Again, I think we have a match against Forest on Wednesday. I think will be interesting to see what kind of a lineup Pep ca- comes out with in that match. When I says think Ole was right for United but let down by players. CR7 entry may be it. I also thought that that signing CR7 was the starting of the demise for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because CR7 meant that you had a forward who was not agile, right? Ronaldo at 25, 26, 27 was different. The pace was different, But at this age, Ronaldo was someone who, if you wanted in your team, you needed to devise a tactical system around him. You needed to have those intricate movements and intricate passes, passing lanes. Ronaldo's strength when he came to United 2 years ago was his movement, right? How do you get the best out of a player's movement? By having extremely talented midfielders and playing that possession based football. Ronaldo was not never suited for a counter attack. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer didn't have the experience. I would not talk about the skill because I do not know, but he did not have the experience of playing a tactical system. He always played a counter-attacking system which doesn't require tactics, and Ronaldo was a big problem there and they couldn't bench him as well. So Ole was a dead man walking as soon as Ronaldo actually arrived at United. I know he's a legend of the Premier League, he's a legend for United, and United fans won't accept this, but this is the truth. The entry of Cristiano Ronaldo started the demise of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If you think logically, that is actually the truth, because that season Ole, if you remember, he bought in Sancho, he bought in so it was Sancho, Rashford, and Greenwood. Bruno Fernandes behind them, Paul Pogba. He wanted to hit the opponents with extreme pace. I think Ronaldo was actually. I'm glad that we didn't get Ronaldo. Otherwise, we would have been in trouble. The dressing room, I think, would not have been as stable as it was right now. The wages that we had to pay to him. So I'm glad we did not get Ronaldo because that window, it was a huge rumor that City were going in for Ronaldo. So so we, I mean, all of the failed transfers for us in the last 3, 4, 5 years. I'm actually glad now looking back at them that they actually failed, right? From your Fred to Jorginho to Harry Maguire to your Harry Kane, even each time we found a better alternative. So we didn't get Cucurella. Right now, I'm very positive that Sergio Gomez could actually be a much, much, much better player than Cucurella that we have got right now. So history has proven that. So let's see how the transfer of Sergio Gomez works out for us. Anyway, guys, again, thank you so much for joining the show, and the chat was wonderful as always. And see you all, guys, and take care.